The death of Lama Seton proved another strong teaching for me. He was the tutor to my master's spiritual wife, Kandro Sering Chodron, who is still alive today. She is regarded by many as Tibet's foremost woman practitioner, a hidden master for whom he is the embodiment of devotion, teaching through the simplicity of her loving presence. Lama Seton was an immensely human and grandfatherly character. He was over 60, quite tall and with gray hair, and exuded an effortless gentleness. He was also a highly accomplished practitioner of meditation, and just to be near him used to give me a sense of peace and serenity. Sometimes he would scold me, and I would be afraid of him. But for all his occasional sternness, he never lost his warmth. Lama Seton died in an extraordinary way. Though there was a monastery close by, he refused to go there, saying he did not want to leave a corpse for them to clear up. So we camped and pitched our tents in a circle as usual. Kandro was nursing and caring for Lama Seton, as he was her tutor. She and I were the only two people in his tent when he suddenly called her over. He had an endearing way of calling her Ami, meaning my child, in his local dialect. Ami, he said tenderly, come here. It's happening now. I have no further advice for you. You are fine as you are. I am happy with you. Serve your master just as you have been doing. Immediately she turned to run out of the tent, but he caught her by the sleeve. Where are you going? He asked. I'm going to call Rinpoche, she replied. Don't bother him. There's no need, he smiled. With the master, there's no such thing as distance. With that, he just gazed up into the sky and passed away. Kandro released herself from his grip and rushed out to call my master. I sat there, unable to move. I was amazed that anyone who was staring into the face of death could have that kind of confidence. Lama Seton could have had his Lama there in person to help him, something anyone else would have longed for. But he had no need. I understand why now. He had already realized the presence of the Master within himself. Jamyang Khyentse was there with him always, in his mind and heart. Never for one moment did he feel any separation. Kandro did go to fetch Jamyang Khyentse. I shall never forget how he stooped to enter the tent. He gave one look at Lama Seton's face, and then, peering into his eyes, began to chuckle. He always used to call him Lajen, old Lama. It was a sign of his affection. Lajen, he said, don't stay in that state. He could see, I now understand, that Lama Seton was doing one particular practice of meditation, which the practitioner merges with the nature of his mind, with the space of truth, and can remain in that state for many days as he dies. Lajen, we are travelers. We're pilgrims. We don't have the time to wait that long. Come on, I'll guide you. Transfixed, I watched what happened next, and if I hadn't seen it myself, I would have never believed it. Lama Seton came back to life. Then my master sat by his side and took him through the Phawa, the practice for guiding the consciousness at the moment before death. There are many ways of doing this practice, and the one he used then culminated with the master uttering the syllable Ah 3 times. As my master declared the first "Ah," we could hear Lama Seton accompanying him quite audibly. The second time, his voice was less distinct, and the third time, it was silent. He had gone. The death of Samten taught me the purpose of spiritual practice. Lama Seton's death taught me that it is not unusual for practitioners of his caliber to conceal their remarkable qualities during their lifetime. Sometimes, in fact, they show them only once at the moment of death. I understood, even as a child, that there was a striking difference between the death of Samten and that of Lama Seton, and I realized that it was the difference between the death of a good monk who had practiced in his life and that of a much more realized practitioner. Samten died in an ordinary way and in pain, yet with the confidence of faith. Lama Seton's death was a display of spiritual mastery. Soon after Lama Seton's funeral, we moved up to the monastery of Yamdrok. As usual, I slept next to my master in his room, and I remember that night watching the shadows of the butter lamps flickering on the wall. While everyone else slept soundly, I lay awake and cried whole night long. I understood that death is real, and that I too would have to die. And as I lay there, thinking about death and my own death, through all my sadness, a profound sense of acceptance began slowly to emerge, and with it, a resolve to dedicate my life to spiritual practice. So I began to face death and its implications very young. I could never have imagined how many kinds of death there were to follow, one heaped upon another. The death of losing everything my family and I possessed. My family, Lakar Sang, had been among the wealthiest in Tibet. Since the 14th century, it had been famous as one of the most important benefactors of Buddhism, supporting the teachings of Buddha and helping the great masters with their work. The most shattering death of all was yet to come, that of my master, Jamyang Khyentse. Losing him, I felt I had lost the ground of my existence.